On your right, players with some lands in play. We'll catch up on the board state as they're given the green light from wonderful judge Riki Hayashi there.
It's been nice to see Riki was, not judging a lot of our tournaments and feels like he's been back in the fold recently. We've seen him in a lot more events.
We'll see him in New Jersey next weekend, that's for sure.
Yep.
Of course, our crew fix here. On Llanowar Waste on top of the deck there for Steiner. Nolan with a Bloodstained Mire and a Mountain in play. Just looking for that white mana, and it's a nomad outpost, so that'll give him that. Even though it's a little slow to the party, you can see a Crackling Doom over in David's hand. Pass the turn back over to Steiner. Steiner will draw that copy of Llanowar Waste. Top card is now a Nissa World Waker. Great card in this matchup.
And I think the card in play is also one of the better cards for Abzan in the matchup. Courser is not that easy for Mardu to get off the table, and if you're squeezing out any advantage, it's a big deal.
Trigger there from the Courser. There's an attacker too. That'll work there for Ben. I'll see if he's got any follow-up play. Well, yes, he does. It's a Siege Rhino.
And with David not already on the board and without real sweepers for the matchup, even a start this innocuous from Ben, I think, is going to be a challenge for him to catch up to. Particularly with Nissa on top of the deck.
Looks like he'll be sacrificing the Bloodstained Mire now. So a Swamp or a Mountain coming here for Nolan. Would be surprised if it wasn't a Swamp, but we will see here in just a moment. First couple of turns for these three-color decks is all about getting the mana online, and then you start casting those powerful spells.
Well, the tempo of David's draw here was shot to pieces there by playing that Nomad Outpost on turn 3. If he's able to play Crackling Doom or a threat card on turn 3, then the board looks much different. But having to play that land as his third land means he didn't do anything on the third turn, and now he's quite a ways behind.
He's definitely got some catching up to do. Does have an answer to Siege Rhino in hand in Crackling Doom, so answering the big Rhino is not much of a problem here for David, but Courser's incremental advantage and that Nissa on top of the deck, that's the concern, I think.
For sure. I mean, I'm pretty sure Ben would be happy to trade turns here. The Siege Rhino already gets to deal its damage. The Courser stays in play, gets a hit again. Nissa, one assumes, will be cast next turn, and that demands an answer.
Mountain there for Nolan.
And David can't really try to catch up with blockers because that potentially plays into Ben's removal spells. So that's very dangerous to just, do something like just try to cast a Butcher and hope that it's good.
Mm-hmm. And just a passing of the turn. Steiner will untap. He's going to draw Nissa here in just a moment. There that is. Take a look at the top card now. It's a copy of Windswept Heath. So that's going to come into play. Steiner up to 23. Top card, a Temple of Malady. So Courser getting to work, and sacrifice the fetch land. Down to 22, up to 23, I imagine, here in just a moment for Ben as he does search out a land.
It's weird to say Courser is good against particular decks and not good against others because we're so used to it being in play, and it feels like the value's the same against every deck in a similar fashion, but there's some matchups where it feels like it matters a lot more to me than others, and against Mardu is the matchup where it feels almost like the best.
Yeah.
It's going to go on for a long time. The points of damage you're dealing matter, the lands you get matter, the life you gain matters.
Siege Rhino on top of the deck.
Siege Rhino matters.
Does. There's Nissa. Gets the thumbs up. Elevator can only go up on that card, so it's ticking up to 4. And Llanowar Waste will be made a 4/4 in just a second. We're going to see a Crackling Doom in response to that. That'll take care of the Rhino. Move 2 damage over that way, and now the Llanowar Waste will become a creature. So there you go. And now if David has another copy of Crackling Doom, it's actually pretty good.
It's not bad. And you have to wonder, would Ben have been better served just moving to combat as the first order of business? Because he would probably rather take the 2 points of damage himself and have Nissa at 4 loyalty than the other way around.
Yep.
And in that spot, there's a reasonable chance that the card in David's hand is Crackling Doom. Is he really willing to take 4 damage from a Siege Rhino hit? Probably not. It's just going to cast his Crackling Doom, most likely.
I think actually the draw for the turn may have been Crackling Doom, and if that's the case, it's a great draw. Again, you can redirect the damage over to Nissa. You can actually kill the Llanowar Waste, the 4/4 creature that's causing a problem. Then you can work your way towards maybe beating the Siege Rhino that's on top of the deck. Either way, he's got a lot of work to do.
Back-to-back Crackling Dooms does give David some play here.
Butcher the Horde in the hand as well. Doesn't look like it's time for that, though. Yeah, there's the Doom. So take care of the land and the Nissa. Very powerful card, this Kraken Doom. Huge fan of that one.
A unique element of this deck, and a lot of matches play out differently against Mardu than anywhere else because of that card.
Siege Rhino with the draw. Thoughtseize on top of the deck. Steiner going to play a Copymatic Influence, trigger the Courser up to 23. Now there's an attack, we think. Looks like players confirming life totals here. And now there's an attack. Nolan down to 10. Here's a Rhino.
Just doing its thing.
It's big, it's mean, it's angry, and it's just good. Steiner will pass the turn back. You see he's got some removal in hand. Hero's Downfall. Thoughtseize on top of the deck. Has to be feeling pretty comfortable, as David Nolan has just been behind the entire game trying to catch up.
Exactly. And this Goblin Rabble Master that David just drew is sort of endemic of the problems with the matchup here. He can't always deploy his cards on the board at any given time because there are much more moving parts. The board needs to look a particular way. Same thing is true of Butcher the Horde, whereas Ben is just able to cast these guaranteed value cards like Corsair, Crewfix, and Siege Rhino.
So Thoughtseize was the draw. Thoughtseize also on top of the deck here from Corsair. And assuming that Steiner has a Hero's Downfall in his hand, he's in a great spot right now. He's going to lead off with a Thoughtseize. So he'll take 2 and go down to 24. We'll take a look at Nolan's hand. You'll see the Rabble Master that you mentioned. There's also an Elspeth over there, a Sorin, and a Stormbreath Dragon. So powerful cards to be sure, but it doesn't look like David will have the time to actually deploy them.
Well, that's definitely the case if Ben is able to kill this Butcher the Horde. At that point, almost none of these cards matter.
Ben giving this some thought here. Wants to make sure he doesn't make a mistake. And the options are plentiful for what to take with the Thoughtseize. All the cards are quite good.
But not clear how much of them really matter in the scheme of things. There's no copy. Oh, there are 3 copies of Chain of the Rocks in the list. And because of the presence of Chain of the Rocks, imagine Ben has a removal spell here, which it looks like he does. I think that I like taking the Rabble Master there, because from where I'm sitting, the only way for David to have a prayer is by drawing Chain of the Rocks, Chain of the Rocking the Rhino, chump blocking
the Corsair,
and then maybe something happens.
Sure.
The Sorin doesn't really accomplish very much.
Well, the draw is a Stormbreath Dragon, and it's an extension of the hand. So Ben Steiner's going to win this match over David Nolan. 2-1. Abzan mid-range moving on, taking down Mardu mid-range. And for Ben, he'll be getting paired against another Mardu deck, but it's got a more aggressive slant in the hands of Andy Ferguson.
I think Ben's going to be well equipped for the matchup, but again, Andy's been untouched, and he'll be on the play. So even though I think the more aggressive tilting of his deck is not going to be good in this matchup, being on the play with 1-drops is always nice.